Returning to our top story, a live look at Vatican City, where history has been made as the first American-born Pope has been elected. At 69 years of age, Pope Leo XIV, formerly known as Cardinal Robert Prevost, is American by nationality, having been born in Chicago, Illinois. He was ordained a priest in 1982 and joined the Augustinian mission 3 years later, spending many years in Peru, where he became a bishop in 2015. He was elevated to the rank of cardinal in 2023. With me now is Valentina Napolitano, anthropologist at the University of Toronto. She joins us from Rome. Thank you very much, Valentina, for being here. I hope I pronounced your last name correctly.
You pronounce it perfectly. Thanks. Thank you.
All right, wonderful. Now, first question for you is, I'll just ask for your reaction to the news of this new pope.
Yeah, it was kind of, as usual, quite unexpected. But right now I've been thinking, and other people have been thinking too, and it's actually quite a clever decision, I think. And I think we will think a lot in relation also to the the position of the U.S. Church right now. So the U.S. Church has always been very fundamental for the Vatican and for the Holy See, to also support a lot of the finances. So I think this is a very sort of, I would say, strategic election, because in a way, to be very clear, very blunt, Trump will not be able to speak for the Catholics right now in the US. It will have to go through the Pope. So this is a very interesting election, I think. It's a very interesting Pope. So my first reaction was like, oh, this is kind of unexpected, but now I begin to think that there is actually telos, there is a logic to it. And he's a very strong missionary and a very strong Augustinian, so a very sort of strong theological background. And it's interesting, he didn't say a word in English in the benediction, in the opening benediction. It was in Italian and in Spanish. So that's an interesting kind of coming out as a first American Pope from the US. So we'll see. Very interesting.
Yes, interesting point. I did notice that he was not speaking English out on that balcony. We saw a large crowd there cheering, reacting to the new Pope. How do you think people in general around the world will react to this new Pope?
Yeah, I think that will take a pose. I don't think it's a natural, charismatic Pope in that sense. You could also see he was very, not frail, but he was very touched. And he directed this kind of common prayer for the Mary di Pompeii, which is today is also a very particular Marian day. So you could see that he is somebody who is kind of will become more natural to do with the crowd. So it's going to be quite different from Pope Francis, but at the same time, he's very much a cardinal that is thought, is thought to be in continuity with Pope Francis. And in fact, he mentioned Pope Francis quite a few times. And so it's an interesting Pope in that sense, because he will have to really bring together the diplomacy with the pastoral. And he said specifically, this is about peace. So he's very aware that now the Catholic Church hold also a charisma in relation to what is the geopolitical condition of the world right now. And the Pope is the one that has to be able to respond and also to inspire people for a different world, because we are living in a very geopolitical, very, very difficult moment. So I think he has taken the courage to follow that in Pope Francis. How he's going to come out as a personality, we will have to see. A lot of people don't know this cardinal very well. It was just been made cardinal in 2023. So it will be an interesting Pope. I think it will come out with time, but this is just my view.
How do you think the new Pope will do in his role? And do you think the fact that he's American will have any effect on the papacy?
I think it will definitely have, because as I said, the American Catholic Church has been one of the main supporting with charity the Holy See and the Catholic Church. And that has been one of the problems with this kind of conflict that been part of the Francis papacy before, because there were conflicts, definitely. So it's been put there also to be able to bring together in a different way the US church within the world. So have a different leadership that, for example, Trump would have, but still have a leadership coming from the Americas. So again, he mentioned his constituency where he worked for 10 years as a missionary in Peru. So there is that kind of leadership, but done in a different way that I think it will displace in a positive way some of the very hardcore American conservative. That's my reading. And also being it's quite a fine has got quite a fine theological background. So he's an Augustinian. He's different than a Jesuit, and in that sense, the Augustinian is very much connected to love. So the idea that love, it's your relation with God, and God looks at you as a particular relation of love. So my feeling is that the question of love with peace is going to be central to this papacy coming from the Americas. So for us as well, Canadians, it's going to be interesting to see.
Yes. Now, what do we, and I hope I'm not putting you in a bad position for asking this question, but what do we know about this new Pope and what he believes in? What are the kinds of things that he is for and against?
Yeah, I have to say I don't know very much about him, but I just know that he was the head of basically the kind of Pontifical Academy of the kind of Latin American ministry, if I could say it in simple word. So he is very well connected with sort of the Americas, Latin America. And so he knows very well what is called theology of liberation, so the different orientation. He knows very well, I think, the work that has been done with theology in Amazonia, with the evangelical work in Amazonia. So he's definitely a very well-prepared Pope as it comes to missions. So in that sense, my feeling that is going to support and develop missions in Asia, which is also a very important area, and Africa, with some of the lessons that have been learned in the Americas. So my feeling that is being put as a Pope as well to translate transversely the missionary learning, teaching, and experiments also that have been done in the Americas throughout the world. So it's going to be a second stage to Francis. Francis was the first stage. My feeling that is going to expand in missionary ways transversely that practice, and is quite a pragmatist from what I understand, and quite shy again. So I think that's kind of important because he has to find his own charisma by perhaps being a little more withdrawn, but at the same time having an experience to have done a lot of missionary work in the Americas, in South America particularly.
Very interesting. That is our time, Valentina. We will have to leave it there. Thank you very much for being with us here today. That is Valentina Napolitano, an anthropologist at the University of Toronto. Thanks again.